And thank you, Amparo, for inviting us here and for all the love and energy you put into curating this event. So I'm so grateful.
Yeah. And thank you all for being here. This is my first time doing something like this, and there's a lot of nerves that come with it, but I feel very grateful for each and every one of you. All right, so this story begins last summer. I was finishing up a long backpacking trip through Central America. It was a really important trip for me. You know, you're asking all those quarter life questions of who am I, why am I here, you know, who do I want to be? And I didn't quite get those answers. I remember telling my dad when I came back home that I found what I was looking for by not finding what I was looking for. But coming back from a trip like that, you want roots, you want stability, and I was looking for a home that I could finally call mine. It would be my first time living alone. And because of that, there's a lot of expectations that come with your dream rental. You know, I'll never forget when I told my real estate agent the laundry list of things that I wanted. You know, I wanted an old Austin home, painted maybe like a pink or a fun, funky color, you know. I wanted an old, weird layout. I wanted gritty. I wanted charm. I wanted quirk. I wanted original hardwood floors and big windows and lots of natural lights. I wanted a big yard so my little kitty could roam about. I wanted to be close to work. And I wanted all under $1,500. And she laughed in my face and she told me good luck. But lo and behold, we found a spot, and I kid you not, it checked every single one of those boxes. And just to kind of paint a visual, because it's important to the story, it's kind of like this 1950s shotgun style home. It's very narrow but long in the back. It's a pink color. It's walking distance to Zilker, a 10-minute bike ride from my job. It's painted all these quirky colors. The dining room is painted yellow. The kitchen is peach with tropical wallpaper. The living room has orange and green marbling. It looks like a true artist home. You know, I was really happy to call it mine. But it took me a couple months to get fully moved in and feel fully settled. And on one August day, it was a rainy day, I decided that I wanted to clean out the shared room that separated the A unit from the B unit. It was a duplex, and the girl who lived in the A unit had recently moved out. But there were still a lot of belongings in this room. So I decided I want to clean it out and see what's going on. It's a very dingy, dark, kind of weird space. And I'm going about with a trash bag, and I see on the top shelf near the attic, there's this old dusty box. It's got Sharpie marker written on it. And I feel something calling me to it, you know, and it's behind all these empty containers and toolboxes and spray bottles, but there was something about this box. So I did what any rational person might do, and I climbed up on the washer. I move everything out of the way, I pick it up, it's a little heavier than I think it might be, and I get it up, bring it into my bedroom, drop it on the floor, and I open it. And what I proceeded to find was someone's entire life in this box. I mean, we're talking old yearbooks, photographs. One of the first things I picked up was a folder of a film proposal. I later find out that the contents of this box belonged to someone by the name of Wendy Korn. And Wendy Korn is unlike anyone I've ever met, okay? I'm seeing photos of her at film festivals and all of these neat and swanky theaters. I'm seeing film proposals for the spiritual group called the Church of Fun, where she's gone around following and participating in this group around Oregon. which, correct me if I'm wrong, they specialize in impromptu performance and dance.
Yes, helping like find fun.
Yeah.
Helping people find folly. Wavy Gravy started it.
Yeah. You know, I saw employment papers for time working at the MoMA, old handwritten letters dating back from the 1980s, early 1990s. But the thing that called me most were some diaries that were in there. And as a fellow writer myself, I knew that I might be breaking cardinal rule number 1 of those that keep a diary. You know, you do not read. Those are very vulnerable personal thoughts, but here I'm looking at dates of some of these things, some things from the 80s, and you know.
Not that long.
Oh, well, yeah. What am I thinking? I know I just have to open up this journal and see what's inside of this one new form. And I open it up, and one of the first pages I see, I'll never forget this moment. I'm trying to understand what I'm looking at because it's not a personal entry. It almost looks like a poem or lyrics. And it's then when I realize it's the lyrics to a song. Some of you might know it's the song Year of the Cat by Al Stewart. The funny thing about that is just the day before my dad, we were going to brunch that morning, and he wanted to tell me all about the song that he had heard, and he was going into great lengths about the significance of the song, how it was made, why it was made. I remember he played it for me, and I loved it, and I added it to my playlist, and didn't think much of it, you know? But here I am, just the next day later, looking at this song, and I feel in that moment that I was meant to pick up this journal. I keep going and reading some of the pages, and I'm reading about this woman who's in her mid-20s, the same age as me, and she's traveling throughout Israel, staying in kibbutz, and writing about romance and friendship and her dreams and who she wants to be and what type of art she wants to create into the world. And for a moment, I guess I just didn't feel so alone. I felt like this person understood the questions and the fear that comes with being in your mid-20s and having your whole life out in front of you. So from that moment, I closed the box and I knew I needed to find this Wendy Korn. So
Turns out I'm very Googleable.
Oh yeah. Wendy front and center. I saw pictures of her at yoga studios. She's a doula. She was featured on a podcast, and you know, I called my our landlord. She's in her 80s.
Maybe Uncle Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's old school.
What did she say to you?
Well, I told her I found this box, and if she had any information on Wendy or contact information, I'd love to give this box back to her. I think this might be something she would like to have. And she told me, oh, Wendy, she moved out. Just throw the box away. She doesn't need it.
But the way I'm hearing Vivian's voice is like, get rid of it. Wendy moved back to New York 2 years ago. Just get rid of it. But what's in this theme, curiosity, right, is like anybody that would have asked their landlord that and then gotten permission to throw it away. It's just like, hey, I did my due diligence. I'll bring it out. I'm going to throw it away. But that's where I get really impressed with you, Madeline, because you did not take no for an answer.
No. Yeah, I fortunately found Wendy on Facebook, and I sent her a long message, and I know the first thing I wrote was, Wendy, you better be sitting down when you get this message. And
it came to me like, this sender is not in your contacts. Do you want to read this message? Hi, my name is Madeline Stokes, and I think I found a box of yours. And this is, you know, on Ford Street, which is where I lived for 15 years prior to moving back to New York for about a year and a half, and then coming back to Austin again. So go back to you.
So I get in contact with Wendy, and we arrange plans for her to come up and pick up the box. And I will never forget the moment I opened up that door. I mean, Wendy is just a whole moment. She was in all black. She was wearing this flowy kind of outfit. She had her sunglasses, her distinct baby bangs, hands in her pockets. And she just looked so cool, you know? There's a genuine mystique to her. And she comes in and she's quiet, she's just kind of taking it in for a moment and starts sharing some stories about her time living on Ford Street. And we only spend a couple moments at the place.
It was like 20 minutes. Like once I got that message, I was like, I am in Austin, and are you around today? Because I can come right from work. So it was very spontaneous.
Yeah.
And when you opened the door, I was just like, oh my God, I love you. Who are you?
Instant connection.
And then I was, I got the box. We're walking the box with like my college yearbook, like all this stuff in it, to the car, and Madeline says, like, I don't want this to end here. I want us to stay in touch. And I was like, well, hey, how would you like to go for a bike ride sometime? I just gotten this new bike, and I was like, let's go riding. And you said,
well, I don't have a bike. And this story couldn't feel more surreal at this moment. What was so bizarre is just moments before Wendy had arrived at my door, I was shopping on Facebook Marketplace for a bike. My work is, like we were saying earlier, just an 8-10 minute bike ride from my home. So I knew I was in need of a bike. So when Wendy asked that question, a part of me just was like, are you being serious right now?
Well, you said, I don't have a bike. I'm looking for a bike. And then I said, well, now I have an extra bike. So do you want my bike? Do you want my old bike? It's a Specialized, it's a nice bike. And you were like, what? And I was like, hop it to my car. And
yeah, in that moment, I was really practicing performing curiosity and just surrendering to the moment without even taking my phone, keys, or wallet, or shutting the front door. I just hopped in Wendy's car, and she drove me down to her place.
Like a mile away.
Yeah. And it was there that we got to know each other a little bit more, share some stories, do some readings, tarot readings, and I think I knew in that moment, we talked about it that day, that, it doesn't feel like this is over. I don't think this is the completion point in this story. I think we know that our meeting felt very serendipitous, but I think this story is still being written. And now that I've had time it's been 6 months since this all took place, I've had time to reflect on what Wendy has meant to me. And I talked earlier about her making me feel less alone in the world, but what she really did was meeting Wendy also showed me what it looked like, or what it could look like, to be someone who always followed their curiosity and their cauldron of desire, so to say. This was a woman who didn't take no for an answer as well, and followed her passion, and traveled, and explored, and created. And I think in that moment in my life, I needed permission to also do the same thing. And I know that our story to this day is will always still be written.